Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Peterson, co-founder and CEO of Geneva Supply, and with me today...
Hi, I'm Kayla. I am the Senior Digital Marketing Strategist here at Geneva Supply.
I like that little wave. Got that little wave going.
I'll do it too. And I'm Casey, Untitled Digital Marketing Strategist.
So today we're going to be talking about building and growing and sustaining your business on Amazon. But when we're talking about Amazon, aren't we really just talking about the strategy of e-commerce and other channels as well? So it's not just Amazon, but obviously if we're going to focus and build strategies, Amazon really is the best place to start across the board, right?
Yeah.
So we talk about this flywheel. Okay, you guys talk about this flywheel. So Kayla, can you give me a little bit of help on explaining what a flywheel even means? We don't have to get into the details, we'll break it down, but what's the concept of a flywheel?
Yeah, so the concept of a flywheel really is each different segment of your business within Amazon. So beginning with things like inventory and making sure that you have those systems in place and your processes in place, because really each different segment of your business on Amazon affects the other side.
Makes sense. So that first segment is inventory and logistics.
Right.
So give me a little bit of insight as far as where that all starts and how it starts to play into it.
Yeah, so either as a brand or manufacturer, you have to have something to sell on the Amazon platform, and that's your inventory. And then it's how to manage that inventory and get it to the consumer, which Amazon system allows you two different systems, FBM, fulfilled by merchant, or FBA, fulfilled by Amazon. Cool. And each has their pros and cons. And you really need to take a look at what is profitable on each, because each has different sort of fee structures. So depending on the price point of your item, what you need to make as a manufacturer, you need to keep that into account, as well as these different pros and cons that we're going to go through. So
real quick, I'm an Amazon shopper. So when I shop on Amazon, I focus a lot on Prime,
right?
Yep.
You know, and can you tell me like this, fulfilled by Amazon, fulfilled by merchant, as far as where Prime comes into play on that?
Right. So Prime is fulfilled by Amazon. Okay. Fulfilled by merchant does not have Prime badging. There's a thing called Seller Fulfilled Prime, which is a program that is very hard to get into.
Sure.
And there's a very small window of opportunities or products that fit within that are profitable.
And let's just let everybody know, Geneva Supply actually is Seller Fulfilled Prime. So we've got that going for us.
we got everything covered.
So go ahead.
But FBA is where you get that Prime badging, that Prime designation, which a lot of shoppers can either filter out, or that's what they look for, because that 2-day shipping is such a big deal.
And a lot of manufacturers or people that are trying to figure out how to get into that e-commerce channel, and if it's their main channel of business, they're going to go fulfilled by Amazon if they don't have their own warehouse, right? Just because of the convenience side.
Right. I mean, if you don't have the capability to fulfill orders and get them out on a basis of, so inside of Amazon, there are metrics that you need to hit in order to keep your seller account in a healthy position. So if you're not able to ship out an order within 24 hours direct to customer, fulfillment by merchant simply can't even be an option for you, just because you don't have the logistics in place to do so. That
makes sense. So 2-day shipping is a big deal. That's where that whole Prime thing, and that's where shoppers on Amazon we're getting spoiled rotten as shoppers.
Yeah. And it's even coming down to same-day shipping, next-day shipping. So Amazon, as they continue to increase their processes and their fulfillment centers, that's ultimately helping you on your business if you're an FBA seller.
So other pros for FBA would be what?
Really customer service when it comes to the logistics standpoint of selling on Amazon. So Amazon will help you deal with the returns, any customer questions regarding shipments. Amazon has to take care of all of that for you.
Inventory management?
In a way, yes. Amazon does have dashboards that allow you to say, hey, you should be sending in this much to replenish your inventory. Kind of a little bit of forecasting. It's not the greatest, but it's a good start for a business.
So some of the cons to FBA, I mean, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap. You're right. And you get the referral fee that you get on both platforms, which is typically across most categories 15% right off the sale. And Amazon's taking that. And then on the FBA platform, you have FBA fulfillment fees. And that is dependent on the size of the item and the product. So if you're selling a really heavy product, it's going to be more expensive. Something smaller, that's going to be, it's on a sliding scale pretty much.
It's in line to a point. It's in
right.
And the other side of it, I mean, Amazon started to realize how much business was going through their Seller Central business, their FBA business. So tail end of last year, they jacked up their prices quite a bit.
Yeah, they did raise their prices, I believe, in January of 2020, moving forward.
And that's been happening, honestly, for the past 5 years.
Yeah, they just keep on realizing how much more important it is, and they're starting to see what their internal costs are.
Right.
And I think it really comes down to the Prime designation.
Yep.
You need Prime designation in order to really win that shopper.
So part of that strategy is making sure that those fees are part of you building in to your costs and, kind of your cost of goods in a way.
Right, exactly.
So when it comes to prepping the product, since it's going through an Amazon fulfillment center, do you still have to bag, label, all that, or because it's separate? I mean, how does that work?
So you could either go one of two options. FBM, obviously, as long as you get it to the customer and it's in one piece, that's great. FBA is a different story. You do have to label, prep, package the items specific to their standards, or send it in and they'll do it. But it's going to cost you even more money. So
perfect.
So in other words, make sure, if you're going to set something up FBA, make sure you educate yourself all the way through so you can figure out whether the cost is going to make your product sellable on the platform or put it out of line as far as pricing with those fees. And then that kind of says, no, I've got to fulfill by merchant because I just can't handle those fees built in.
Yeah, or if you even have the capabilities of prepping it, or if you don't have a partner that can prep for you.
Right.
So you need to find someone like Geneva Supply that we can do it all.
That makes sense. Good stuff. So Casey, let's dive in a little bit deeper on Fulfilled by Merchant as far as some of the pros and cons. I know we hit on some of that stuff already, but there's a few things that are still important to kind of bring up. Yep. And then also to figure out, is there a time where you're going to use both?
Yeah. So bringing up FBM, there's times where, like COVID-19, this pandemic, when storage limits at Amazon are at max capacity and you can't set anything in, you need to have an FBM listing or offer in order to be on the Amazon platform or any e-commerce platform that is. So there is a strategy of having the capabilities and procedures set up to sell FBM.
Yep.
And that kind of gets into having the capabilities of both. So if you are selling FBA, it's not a bad idea to have an offer that is FBM. If your inventory runs low, you run out of inventory and you can't get inventory back in fast enough, you have that backup offer that's FBM, so you're still making sure that product is on the platform.
And at minimum, have a solution in place. Even if you're going to be full on FBA, know what you're going to do, because a lot of the calls when this whole COVID-19 started hitting, a lot of the calls that came into us were, oh my gosh, Amazon won't let me send product in. And they're in a little bit of a panic. How are they going to get product to consumers? And they were asking and reaching out to us to be able to be their logistics solution for that.
Right.
And so at least have it figured out so that it's in your toolbox.
Exactly. And when you're first launching a product too, Amazon doesn't always allow you to send in as much inventory for that product because there's no historical, data. So that's a really good example of when you can add both of those listings, one FBA, one FBM, and when forecasting, you're starting a brand new product. You're not going to know what the sell-through rate is on that. So to have that
keep
backup,
a listing constantly going and live to have both.
Right.
And another time you'll see this a lot is during Q4, during the holiday period. Amazon has certain storage limits, so making sure that you have both options available.
That makes sense. So any additional cons in Fulfilled by Merchant, or as far as costs and freight?
Yeah. It's really up to the manufacturer and brand on what kind of freight fees you have, or what partner that you work with has, because that can be a big difference. If you have crazy freight, then it's really not going to work for 90% of your products. But if you have really good shipping rates, then there's a good play there that could work for both your products.
So when you're talking about winning the buy box, and you're trying to compete, if somebody else has the same product that's up on a listing, if you're Fulfilled by Merchant versus FBA or shipped and sold by Amazon, where does that kind of play?
Yeah, the algorithm leans towards the FBA listing, and even if your price point is a little bit higher than an FBM offer, we've kind of looked into it and tried to find what that magic number is.
Right.
And there's really no magic number between listings or between products. It's across the board.
Like a product by product basis.
Yeah.
And honestly, even if we found that exact magic number, Amazon's going to change it on us anyways, because they're always going to be working towards things that are making themselves more efficient and more profitable.
Yeah.
So
right.
it's
So
a
the
struggle.
FBA offer does make them more money because you have those pick, pack, and ship fees.
Right.
But if you have a fulfillment by merchant listing, you're only paying that referral fee. So
That makes sense. Yeah. So, I mean, thanks for the pros and cons of fulfilled by merchant. Yeah. I mean, it's a strategy, and you've got to take the time to talk it through and research all the guidelines.
Yeah.
Yep.
For both.
For both. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about with this flywheel is product listings. So the thing about product listings is it sounds so simple, right?
Yep.
Everybody thinks, oh, just get it up there.
Yeah, just
and
slap it up
slap
there.
it up there.
It'll be good.
Hey, I'm live on Amazon.
They'll
People can
find
buy
me.
it for
Yeah,
sure.
they'll
So
find
what's
me.
the most important part about product listings, and what are kind of everything that builds up to it?
yeah, so there's a lot of different parts of your product listing that you really need to pay attention to, because one, Amazon really, in its essence, it's a search algorithm. If you're if you don't focus on your search engine optimization, customers can't find you, you're not going to sell any product, the end. So,
End of discussion.
we're
Boom.
done.
See ya.
Thanks for playing.
Bye. No, but really you want to write for one, customers focusing on benefits because
Right.
they're the ones obviously purchasing.
Right.
But then two, the search algorithm. So within your title, that would be your first area that you need to focus on. You really want to focus on the features of your product, the main features. And then within there, I always recommend including the number one keyword that you want to rank for on Amazon.
Okay.
After you've gone through your title, really pay attention to how long your title is too.
I have seen some titles that are crazy long because it seems like people are just like, I'm just putting everything in the
Yeah,
title.
there's a lot of keyword stuffing, and when you're thinking of it from a consumer perspective, I don't want to go on to your product and have to read 4 sentences of your title to figure out what I'm looking at.
Yep.
I want it concise, telling me what it is. I don't want to have to read through
And in a way, don't you want it to look professional?
Yeah.
I mean, you want it to look professional, but
Right.
still building in the algorithm.
Right, and there's ways to include keywords without having to keyword stuff within your product listing.
Yes.
So the number 2 spot would be your bullet points. You have up to 5 bullet points, and really making sure that, again, you're including benefits, but you're also including keywords.
Yep.
So in the beginning of the sentence, I always recommend that you focus on what's the actual benefit of what this product does. Nobody cares that your product is X amount of feet long. Why does that matter? Always go down to the why. So really focus on your bullet points and really draw out those benefits, but again, making sure that you are including what people are actually searching. And then the third part would be images. Images essentially on Amazon are your product packaging. Nobody is seeing the product packaging before they receive the product.
True.
The images are what's showing the product.
So the images are basically like when you're walking around a retail store,
Yeah.
what it looks like on the shelf and what's triggering you to go buy it, or just pick it up and look at it. And
Yeah,
research
drawing
it.
your attention.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So really making sure that you are not only showing what the product looks like, but if it's a product that you use, maybe showing people using it, lifestyle photos,
Okay.
things of that nature. And then you can also have 360 imaging now.
Oh, nice.
So really showing
That
the
whole, like if I'm
full-
picking up, let's say I'm picking up a vitamin supplement and I'm turning the bottle
Yeah.
to read the ingredients, or if I'm buying something like consumer electronics, I don't want just the front, I want to see what all the plugins and everything is on the back that I might need.
Yep.
That type of concept. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yep. And making sure, I would say, lastly for images, that your images are at least 1,000 by 1,000 pixels. That makes sure that they're zoomable. So really with mobile shopping,
Did you just
especially
make up
on
a word?
Amazon-
Is zoomable a word?
Zoomable.
Zoomable.
I mean, maybe that's. I'm all about it. I like.
It's a
I like.
word,
Everybody knows
right?
what Zoom
I
is
don't
now.
know.
Yeah, that's true. Everybody knows what Zoom is, and now we're making
Zoomable.
things zoomable. So that's good.
It's zoomable.
Yep,
So customers are able to see finer detail.
that makes sense.
And then lastly would be A+ content or enhanced content. So talking more about your product, its features, and just really building out that product detail page so that customers have a full idea of what your product does, what it helps with, who would use it, things like that.
Right. And there you can build out even more about your brand. Show customers that you're not just one product on Amazon. Show off your brand, who you are, your mission, and what kind of product lines do you handle.
Try to create that social connection, which is so big right now. You know, and you talked about 360 imaging, being able to also have like video, being able to have videos that kind of, show and kind of connect those people, because so many people are digesting content through video now.
Yeah. And people honestly don't like to read anymore. People are so used to just digesting content through images.
Why-
audiobooks
and videos.
That's proven the concept, right?
And Kayla,
Podcasts, right?
And you talk about the two different ways of how customers shop on Amazon. What are those two? Do you have
so you have your hunters and your grazers. Your hunters know exactly what they want. That's why you put the benefits in the beginning, so they can just read the first part of that sentence, know it qualifies for what they need, add to cart, done. Then you have your grazers who will actually go through, read through all of the product descriptions, product bullet points, and that's why you really want to kind of fill out that information. So again, if a customer's a grazer, they actually know what they're...
As everybody can see, I've been grazing during this entire pandemic. So grazing when it comes to eating is not the best idea, but when you're shopping, that's a real thing.
And one final touch when it comes to product listings is once you have everything kind of how you think you want it in place, see how it looks on the web and on a mobile device. Because so many shoppers are moving to mobile, and you might have 2 characters in your title that is making it go to like a fourth or third line on mobile.
Right.
So just get rid of, an extra word that you don't really need to make it look clean on mobile. Same with your bullet points. It's all about how that looks to the eye on the phone.
So I don't want to get too much further in depth on this because you guys hit so much, but there's kind of this hidden behind the scenes portion of what you can set up to as far as searchability.
Yes.
So hit me with that a little bit, just so we can kind of cover it.
So one thing you definitely need to make sure to fill out, and I see a lot of sellers on not taking part in this, would be backend keywords.
Right.
So backend keywords trigger within Amazon's algorithm as being applicable for your product, but a customer will never see that keyword.
Right.
So for instance, if you're selling a woman's shirt, but it also works for teenagers, you don't necessarily want to market it towards teenagers, however. You can put teenagers in the back end, so if someone was to go in and type teenager shirt or shirt for teenager, your product listing would still pop up because Amazon's algorithm still sees your product listing as relevant for that keyword. So really making sure to take what's working in your marketing and what's working in keyword research and putting that in the back end so the customer won't see it, but it is relevant for the product as well.
So we're so accustomed to always being able to do something and then see what it looks like, but that back end keyword, setup really is not seen, so often forgotten. So great point. So that's product listings.
Yep.
All right, so the next portion of this flywheel is reviews, because honestly, I shop based on reviews because I'm too lazy to do a lot of research on product. So I want everybody else to go buy the stuff and then tell me whether I should buy it.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing on the flywheel. Tell me about these reviews.
So as you know, there are different ways of getting reviews. Some are kind of black market reviews. We don't suggest going there, but you know what we're talking about. Amazon offers 2 programs, the early reviewer program and the Vine program, and those are 2 ways that Amazon allows you to kind of jumpstart your new product or your product to get reviews on the platform.
Yeah, it's kind of a pay-to-play service that Amazon offers where you pay, send an inventory, and then people are able to then review your choose to review your product. So that's always a way that you can get reviews right from the start.
But what's the best way to get reviews? I mean, honestly, isn't it just having a quality product that people want to share that information? Because a lot of Amazon shoppers now are more educated than they've ever been, especially in the last 60 to 90 days with e-commerce jumping up during this pandemic. And people are starting to do a lot more shopping and getting more engaged. And they're sharing, because when I get reviews, it helps me make a purchase, which makes me feel like I should leave a review to help somebody else?
Yeah, so it's all about, making sure that you are giving the customer the best product, and paying attention to when you're launching a new product to some of the reviews.
Because they're spelling out what they like and what they don't like.
Yeah.
Right. If for your next launch or if you need to make a change, make it early, and because people are going to tell you. If people are having a bad experience, they're more likely to tell you about that right away.
Right.
If they love the product, having a good experience, hopefully they give you a review. But sometimes no reviews is sometimes a good thing too.
A lot of manufacturers panic when they see a bad review and say that's not accurate. That they're not talking about something. Can I get this review pulled down, or can I communicate with that customer to try to help them through a situation because they might have been using it wrong? I can teach them how to use it, and maybe they can change their review. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, just jumping off your last point, reviews do piggyback off of product listings.
Right.
So if a customer is not educated about how to use an item, make sure that's in your product listing or your detail page, or you're giving the customer that content to use that. So when we're building out pages, we're always looking in reviews to optimize that content and make sure if something's missing, we need to add that in. Right?
Yeah. Or when you're building your product listings, look at your competitors, see what the most common questions are, and then make sure you answer those questions within your own product listing to kind of give you an edge up on the competition.
Yeah, and then lastly, answering reviews. You can go in and comment as the brand or the manufacturer to customer reviews, and ultimately it could change the mind of the consumer. Maybe they were using it wrong and you help them out and they take that review down, or they edit their review.
Because really the only way reviews are going to come down or change is from the reviewer.
Yeah, you cannot take any reviews down.
So when I get products from Amazon, sometimes there's a little card in there begging for a nice review in a very nice way. And sometimes I don't get anything. Sometimes I get follow-up emails from manufacturers saying, hey, if you really like the product, how about 5 stars? If you didn't like the product, how about you don't say anything? What are the rules and guidelines as far as being able to solicit reviews, I guess, by putting a note in a product or a follow-up email?
Yeah, so our suggestion is to be very cautious and careful when utilizing some of those different techniques and programs that you kind of create yourself. Amazon's system is very smart. They track IPs. They can maybe even order your product if they open it up and test it themselves and they see that note. They can do a lot of damage that is not worth maybe putting that card or sending that extra email. They might shut down that listing.
They can shut down
your seller account.
Yep.
So all of your listings are done and suppressed. So there's a lot more risk than I think people think about before they, print out 500 mailers and stick them in because they're 10 cents and whatever.
Right. So there are some different things. We talk about Amazon constantly changing and constantly evolving based on categories, types of reviews, and what they want to open up their platform to. Any new things happening with reviews? Even if it's just by category.
Yeah, so there's 2 new things. One, Amazon recently came out with a request a review button. So now you can request reviews from customers directly rather than trying to solicit those reviews.
So Amazon's paying attention to what's going on, and they're trying to find ways that they can track how important that is to manufacturers.
Yeah, and Amazon knows that reviews also sell products, and more products that sell, they make more money.
Right.
So they like the fact that more products are getting more reviews as well.
But they want a little more control in it.
Exactly.
Right.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So is there anything else that's going on in reviews as far as the way they're breaking things down for the customer?
Yeah, so as of lately, Amazon in a couple categories has now come out with breaking up reviews according to different attributes. So like for tools, for example, how...
it's lightweight, how heavy, how it fits in your hand even, durability.
So they're really kind of probing to get more detailed reviews from the customer, because I think a lot of customers in the past were just like, I didn't like the way it showed up late, and it might not have anything to do with the product, so there's a little bit more probing going on.
Yeah, and I think that what Amazon did was they looked back at some of these categories and some of these product reviews, and they pretty much highlighted standout keywords that were in those and kind of pick those apart. So
makes sense.
In the garden category, there's like durability, waterproof, sturdiness, all those different types of attributes for products.
Nice. So
Yeah.
that's the review game is changing.
Yeah.
And Amazon's catching up with the way people have been doing things. So it's an important part because that's how people like me are making purchases.
And it's super important with this new feature of showing those top attributes because it's showing on on web right underneath the bullets. Okay. So it's your title, you got your images, your bullets, and then bam, reviews before you even get to your product descriptions, your A+ detail page content. So you need to make sure that you're keeping your eye on that.
Yep.
And depending on what categories you're in, making sure you kind of understand what's happening.
And let's face it, to tie it up in a bow, reviews matter, and it's not just the 2-star reviews. Read your 4.5-star reviews. Pay attention to what your customers are saying, good, bad, or indifferent, because that's going to make a difference in your sales and also the way that you handle your product listings. That's why reviews comes off of product listings in the flywheel. Talk about that flywheel. Keep that flywheel spinning.
Keep it rolling.
Right? All right. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is traffic. I mean, rush hour traffic. I mean, what are we doing?
Lately, there's been no traffic.
No traffic. But how are we driving business with traffic, and how does that play into the flywheel?
Yeah.
Yeah, so driving traffic really comes down to pay-per-click advertising on Amazon.
Okay.
So really with Amazon advertising, it's very bottom of the funnel. You're really trying to target those customers with the highest intent, and you need to appear where customers are searching. If you're on page, for example, 3, me personally as a customer, I'm not going to page 3 and looking at 90 products.
I rarely click to page 2.
I don't even click to page 2 either.
Yeah.
So Exactly. So
the only time I do is if there's a bunch of sponsored like on the top or something, and there's not as many on page 1. Then I might give page 2 a glance just because I know the sponsored ads are paid for.
But you're not a typical consumer.
I know a little too much. I know a little too much. Right?
I feel that.
Good point.
Yeah. So when you're developing your marketing plan, you really need to have a strategy. You need to have an offensive strategy and a defensive strategy. Meaning offensive, if you're a new brand, really start going after those general product terms. 85% of searches on Amazon are general product terms. So making sure that you are appearing for those terms is essential. From a defensive strategy, if you are a well-known brand from brick and mortar, you've been around for X amount of years, making sure that you are not only going after those general terms and your competitors, but defending your own branded terms.
Right.
When someone goes to search for you specifically, you don't want them to see 4 competing products and have them potentially click off and convert to a different brand, especially if you're a consumable product. So you need to set both strategies up and have both in place.
And those tier 2 and tier 3 brands are going after tier 1 traffic. I mean, that's what's happening. I mean, they're trying to steal market share left and right.
Right.
Because creating market share is really expensive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So stealing market share is actually cheaper in some cases, unless they're defending their brand properly.
Yeah, Amazon's algorithm takes into account a lot of different things.
Okay.
So it's a bid algorithm.
Okay.
They take into account relevancy. So if you're bidding on your own branded keywords, it's likely that you're going to be paying less than your competitors would be just because you're really relevant for that keyword.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So the other part of this kind of boils down to what's the cost going to be on all of this, and they've got all these like weird letters and stuff that make words, and people call it. So ACOS is like, but what does that even mean?
Average cost of sale is your ACOS. Okay. And Kayla and I get this all the time when we're developing strategies for brands is, what's a good ACOS? We want to be at the best ACOS, or they give us like, we want to be at 5% ACOS. And it really varies product by product and even category to category on what ACOS is good for you. And how Kayla and I break it down is you really need to find out what your TACO is, which is your target average cost of sale.
Okay.
And that percentage, you need to kind of go back through each step of the flywheel, as we call it, and look at what is your logistics. How much are you buying the product for, making it for? What is your fulfillment fees, logistic fees, everything that goes into this product? And then
so your COGS. Cost of goods.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you need to figure out, okay, how much margin are you making, and how much of that margin are you willing to give up to pay for advertising to make a sale.
Yep.
And that's
And
really
you better build in marketing costs into your cost of goods when you're starting this whole process, because it is a pay-to-play world right now.
exactly. And that's why when we get brands that come on board, we need to figure that out right away from the beginning. Because for some brands, they have a strategy or they're a new brand and they really want to attack. So a 40% ACoS may work for them, but if 40% ACoS for somebody else, they might be losing $5.
Right. And I think it depends too where your product is in the life cycle of products. So if you're starting from the beginning and you're really trying to drive traffic and reviews and more people to your product detail page, you might be willing to pay more. But as you are going through the product life cycle, if you have a good amount of reviews, you're one of the top sellers in the category, well, you might have different goals and strategies that have a lower cost involved.
So your ACoS can go up, down, and kind of fluctuate based on your strategy, the time of year. Are you launching a product? Are you trying to figure out the market strategy? So it can fluctuate. It's not like I want it at 12%, keep it at 12%. There's going to be kind of this averaging through its...
And it totally depends on the amount of traffic coming to the Amazon platform. And as advertising agencies or advertisers on the platform, we can't control what shoppers search for. We can control what pops up when that search happens. So we can't drive more traffic to the Amazon platform. We can only control what happens once that search is made.
So when all this stuff's happening, you've got these numbers, these metrics, and all this type of stuff. Where do you find it? How do you calculate it? Where is it on the Amazon platform for you when you're participating on their marketing strategies? I mean, is it there?
Yeah, it's on the Advertising Council if you're a 1P vendor, which the Seller Central advertising platform and the Advertising Council are soon to be merging.
They are merging.
They are merging, depending on your brand.
They've been soon to be merging for a couple years now. So someday maybe they will be merged. But I get it.
But Amazon does do a great job of providing you those basic KPIs of what's going on.
Key performance indicators.
All right. See, we're just throwing all these things out.
It's just like a habit now.
Yes, I get it. So that's traffic. And so now we're going to feed into the next tier of what's on that flywheel. So the last part of the flywheel is customer service. And you know what, guys? I'm going to change this up a little bit.
All right.
I'm covering customer
Jeff's jumping
service.
in.
I'm jumping in. I can talk about customer service.
You got it.
The big thing about customer service that I think is really important is Amazon always looks at the customer first. That's the way Amazon.com was built. It was always about how they were treating the customer. And to this day, every time I talk to a vendor manager or anybody at Amazon, they always say, well, what does that do for the customer? Does the customer want this? How are you communicating with the customer? Are they getting the best price? Are they getting the best deal? How are they being taken care of? That is truly the way that this e-commerce platform is all about, because you don't get that face-to-face opportunity to kind of build that relationship and that trust and everything else that comes with it. So I think what's important is the customer's always right. Now, we know the customer's not always right. I get it. But we have to have them feel as though they're taken care of. And when you're in a distant, not personal relationship with that customer, like brick and mortar retail is, you have to treat it that way. So, the big thing is, treat them and get them kind of liking the way that they were taken care of. Whether it's taking a return, giving a refund, sending them a new product, whatever it is, whatever it takes, it's a lot cheaper to take care of the customer than to get that negative review that they don't change, that is going to change the way people view your product.
Right. And when it comes to customer service, it can affect your Seller Central page. So people can not only just review products, but they can review your seller account, how you kind of performed. If you shipped the item late, if you're using FBM, or if you are using FBA and maybe there's a problem, it usually goes through Amazon, but sometimes those customer questions will come to you and you need to kind of take care of that, maybe bounce them back to Amazon. But there's there's work to be done there as well.
You have to pay attention.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what's happening after a sale is made. You've made money off of that transaction, and your responsibility doesn't end. You have to care about customer service.
Right, and Amazon cares just as much because how you are treating the customer reflects directly upon Amazon as well.
It absolutely does. So that completes the flywheel portion.
Yeah.
Well done. I like that. It's a lot of fun. Spinning that wheel makes a lot of money generating and sales and traction, everything else that goes with it. Is there anything else that you would say are upcoming opportunities, to recover? We've gone through a crazy time.
Yeah.
All right. So what are some of the upcoming opportunities to kind of be successful for the remaining portion of 2020?
Right.
It's like, but who's going to talk first? There's so many opportunities. Who's talking first? Kayla, go ahead.
Okay, so I would say the first one would be obviously Prime Day. So Prime Day is now moved to September.
For now, right?
2020
Right.
for now due to COVID-19. So making sure that what we talked about, all your different parts of your flywheel are figured out and they're all functioning correctly and together so that when Prime Day does come, you are in the best position possible.
Yeah, and with Prime Day coming right in September, that's really going to be a jump start to Q4.
It is, yeah.
It's going to be
We're
I
gonna
think Q4 is going to be crazy this year. I'm expecting.
It's almost like Q3 and a half, 4.
Right, yeah. It's right at the end of Q3, going into Q4. Inventory is going to be crazy because everybody's going to be sending their stuff to Amazon fulfillment centers for Prime Day, and then right after that is going to be gearing up for Q4. So really kind of taking advantage of what happened over this time. Like we mentioned, having maybe a hybrid model of FBM and FBA because chances are
I don't think Amazon's
it's going to be
ready for all this inventory and everything else that's going to play off of it.
No, because look at the non-essentials.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of things that are cooking, a lot of balls in the air to try to figure it out. Now, what does that do for advertising, though?
I mean, there's going to be a lot more shoppers on the platform, and it's going to they're going to stay on the platform because whether they're shopping for Prime Day or right after that Q4, here come the holidays.
Right.
It's going to be crazy. And we want to let you kind of remember over the past couple of weeks, traffic has gone down. Things have been crazy.
Right.
Items haven't been on Amazon because they focused on essentials.
Right.
So maybe some of that
There's a little bit of a lull.
Yeah, some of that budget that you had allocated for these past few months, maybe kind of hold on to that and get ready to use it later down and double down on some of what you want to spend.
And it makes sense, Casey, because honestly, when you're going into the fourth quarter here, that's when you're going to have stock. That's when you're going to have inventory where it needs. And there's no sense in spending advertising dollars if you're not prepared and ready for the sales and being able to fill orders. Because even some of those essential items, maybe the inventory levels that you personally had as a manufacturer are low and you're having a hard time keeping up. So why would you be spending money when things are just flying through and you don't have inventory to market?
Exactly.
So that wraps it up for some of the upcoming opportunities. And again, that flywheel, thanks for paying attention. We are Geneva Supply. I'm Jeff, that's Kayla, that's Casey, and we're out.
Yeah, peace. Pay attention to us.
Pay attention. Follow us. We got more stuff to talk
We're dropping
about.
content all the time.
All the time. We got content.
We never stop talking.
Never, ever. Never.
I don't want to end.
I don't want to stop.
Are we done?
Yeah, we can be done.
I suppose.
All right.
Last word?
Okay.
He gets it.